trying to color grade and can't quite figure it out yet, and you want to know how I do it, stick around and see if this will help. Welcome back, everybody. So in this video I'm going to go over color grading. Might be a little bit longer, so I'm going to try and keep it short, get straight to the point, and see if I cannot help you out with color grading your videos. One thing I will say though is I am no professional at this by any means. I know there is a lot more to it that I don't know, but I get a lot of people asking how do I color grade. So now, and also I edit in Final Cut Pro at the moment. So DaVinci, Premiere Pro, all that will be different, but it should be fairly similar to the point where you should be able to figure it out, and it not too drastically different. But yeah, let's get into it. All right, so here I got Final Cut Pro open. I got 3 clips from the Pro Superstar Shootout loaded up on my timeline. I already got them slowed down, just make it easier to view. First clip I got is, got a clip here of Tony Stewart when he was standing out next to me. This one, I'm using this one to show you there is certain things that you can do that Final Cut Pro definitely has to help make sure you keep the skin tones, an easy way to keep the skin tones accurate. So first, this is what I do. So first I'll come over here, go to the effects tab, type in LUT. I'm going to add custom LUT. And while I got it up, I'm going to go ahead and do it for these other 3 clips. Okay, back to this clip with Tony Stewart. Okay, the first thing that I do is just select my LUT. And I'm just going to go with the one I use the most, one of the ones I use the most. And as you can see, that already changed a lot. There's before, there's after. For a LUT, and especially one that I got for free, it's not a bad LUT. Does a great job, but I always like to add a little more to it, tweak it myself. So what I will do is, first of all, come over to my color tab and then go to color board and exposure. Now over here you can see I have my Luma waveforms. You got 0, 100, and these are your waveforms. That's showing your exposure of the image, and you want to keep everything between 100 and 0. You don't want it to go above 100 or below 0. And 0 obviously being your shadows, 100 being your highlights. So what I do, I'll have this up, and if you don't know how to get that up, hit Command 7. It'll bring it up, and then if you still don't see it, click on this little box here, go to Waveform and Luma, and we'll be bringing something else up on it here in just a minute. But anyways, have my waveforms up, then I'll usually go to shadows, and I'll drag it down. Usually don't have to do much, but drag it down to where it touches 0. Midtones, you kind of adjust them to where you like them. I tend to be a little bit on the darker side, what I prefer. And then adjust your highlights where you want them. I usually do not ever go up to 100. But that's my first step. Now, that gets my exposure about, where I want it pretty good. So my next step is I go to color, and I'll get the only thing I do is I get the highlights, and I'll drag it over here to the orange, just a little bit, just add a little bit of warmth to it. Sometimes I'll leave it at that, or sometimes I will go to color wheels, and you can go to highlights in the center and drag it up. It adds a lot more warmth. Sometimes it works out where it looks pretty good, and sometimes it overpowers it. Too much orange tones. Okay, so what you can do to make sure that you have skin tones accurate is first click on this box again and go to your vector scope. Let me close this over here, make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so here's your vector scope, and this little gray line right here is what the skin is your skin tone line. That's basically telling you where your skin tones need to be. So you may be wondering, how do I know with all of this mess right here? So what we'll do is go back down to the effects tab, type in draw, add a draw mask to your clip. Now come back over here to the video inspector, and what we'll do, if you look at the side of Tony's face there, we'll just put a few points, select a little bit of him where it's just showing just the skin, and now you can see, if you look over at the vector scope, how now you'll be able to see where the skin tones are. So then you come back over to the color inspector, and what you can do is get the global color wheel. And what I've noticed is if the skin tones are a little to the right of the line, get the global piece and drag it a little bit to the left to where everything lines up. Now go back to the color or video inspector and unselect draw mask, and that should do it. Now you can, instead of doing global, you can do the highlights, and that usually will affect just the highlights, which the skin tones sometimes will fall under. The midtones will affect it also, but the midtones on this one did not need to be messed with. So go back, unselect the draw mask, and that is pretty good. Now another step sometimes I will take is, if you look at the right side here, these guys with the red on, sometimes that red can be a little too much, or it could be any color, don't matter which. But what I'll do is go to hue and saturation curves, hue versus set, and then select the eyedropper tool, and then click and hold, and then drag it out a little bit, and that'll tell you about where it is. And then you just click that point there with the gray line going up and down, pull it down a little bit, and that'll desaturate that red. For this one, I would just pull it down just a little bit where it's not too much. Usually that's about all I do during the day with the daytime shots. I mean, you can do the hue versus sat and go up here and select the sky. Add a little more saturation to the sky if you want to. This one is not working out too well because there was a wildfire behind the track, so this whole right side was nothing but smoke. But anyways, we'll move to another shot here. This is a shot I got of looks like Clay Millican. So we added our LUT. I'm going to select which LUT I want to use. Like I said, I'll just go with this one because that normally works well for me. And then go back to the color inspector. And then, like I said, back to exposure. And I'm going to pull my waveforms back up. And you see this one is already very close to the zero, but I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. And then this one, I'm going to bring the midtones up so the back end of his car is not completely dark. But usually I keep my midtones, you would think 50, but I usually keep my midtones between 25 and 50, but a little bit closer to the 50 side. But there is some shots where it's an overall dark shot, so I'll bring everything up above 50 and bring the shadows up just a little bit. But usually if it's a daytime shot, this is about where I keep it right here. So that being said, I'm going to bring the highlights up just a little. Now, go back to color. And one thing you can do, you can uncheck this to see the differences that it made. And if you want to see the difference that this next step that I do, drag the highlights over to the orange. If you want to see the difference that just that makes, select this, select another color board. That way it's separate. And then drag it over. And it adds just a little bit of warmth to it. And there you can see the difference. But I'm going to go to color wheels for this shot. And then go to highlights. Select it and drag it towards the orange. Add just a little bit more. This is just my preference. If it's sunny, daytime shot outside, I like to add a little bit of warmth to it. That's just, like I said, that's just my preference. There are times when you add cool tones to it, and that suits it. But right now, my preference is just adding a little bit of warmth to it. And sometimes I'll add a little bit of cool tones to the shadow, but I normally don't do a whole lot during the day. Which, like I said, it all depends on the look you're going for. And then here you can up the saturation on those highlights. But if it's middle of the day, like this shot was, I normally don't add too much. Now, if it was a sunset shot, you can go in here, in my opinion, and add a lot more orange, and it would suit it. It would fit, and it would look good. But middle of the day shots, I only add just a little bit. Now here's my third shot. This is also Clay Milliken here. So again, added custom LUT, and I'm going to select a different LUT because the one I normally use is a little too dark. Maybe not. It works fine. Alright, so already looks awesome. But again, I can't leave anything alone. I don't like to leave anything alone. So we'll go over to exposure, bring the shadows down a little, bring the mid-tones up just a hair. Highlights up just a little bit, not too much, because you start to see some noise. And then I don't touch the color portion on the night times. So next I'll go to color wheels. And for this one, for these shots, and you may, if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen a reel where this same exact shot, and I'm gonna try and get it as close as I can to what I did on that shot. But anyways, get the highlights, drag it over to orange, and you can see those flames really change on, turn to orange. A lot of heat there. So, and then also what I like about it is it translates into the asphalt too, on the track, the reflection. Now, would it be a nighttime? Nighttime's generally cooler. The sun ain't out, so I like to portray that into the feeling of the video. And I'll usually get the shadows and bring a lot of blue into the shadows. And you just play around with it, move it to where you like it. I kind of like it about right here. And you can play with the saturations a little bit, but that's too much. And bump the saturation up of the highlights just a hair. And I'm pretty sure this is all I did for that shot on Instagram, where it started off vertical and I rotated it, and you got to see it in horizontal. So yeah, you can definitely see here before he steps on it, all the blue back there in the background. So that gives it more of a feeling that it, a nighttime feeling, a cooler feeling, because the sun wasn't out beating on us. So that is my preference. Like I said, you can find a good LUT and just stick the LUT on there. And a lot of times, if you find a good one, you can just put it on there and be done with it. Or you can just 100% color grade it yourself. And with no LUTs, you just go in there, adjust exposure yourself, colors, everything yourself. I haven't had a whole lot of luck with that yet, because I haven't had a lot of time to really dive in and figure out how to do that. But I would like to one day. But for now, just usually when I get done filming a race, I have to have the video out within a week. So it's just a lot easier to just put a LUT on it and maybe just do some slight adjustments. And that's my preference. It makes it quicker, but it still allows me to put my personal touch on it. So that is how I color grade. If there's anything else that I missed that you would like some tips on, just let me know, and I can make a part 2 to this. I'm just trying to keep it short, to where it ain't completely boring for you. But yeah, that's about it for my color grading. Same as this camera settings, I keep it simple. I don't get too carried away with it, and it's worked out for me. Now I do plan on eventually switching to DaVinci Resolve, because there is a lot more options to color grade. And one thing that I know that DaVinci has that I have yet to figure out or find out if Final Cut Pro can do is adding masks, like radial masks, linear masks, stuff like that, to start controlling what parts of the image you're adding exposure or reducing your exposure. I can do radial on here, but that is about it. But I can't track. So if the subject's moving, I can't move it with the subject unless I put in a lot of time to track it manually. So eventually I do plan on switching to, or I would like to switch to DaVinci Resolve, as there's a lot more features. But for now, Final Cut Pro works like a champ. Done everything I needed it to do so far, with exception of just a few features. But yeah, let me know if you like the video. If you don't mind, go down there and give me a subscribe, like, comment, and share it with anybody else that might need to know might need some tips on color grading. Thanks.